Now watch what Jesus does when they come. Jesus said, overhearing, but ignoring what they said. I love it. I love it. Because I love to walk into the sanctuary and hear some conversations, and I act like I don't hear it. Overhearing it. And then you can come in, because that's biblical. That's what Jesus did. Then you just walk up and say, excuse me? Overhearing it, but ignoring what they said. Jesus said to the ruler of the synagogue. Notice he didn't talk to the guys that came. Amen? He wasn't wasting his time with them anymore. So why are you? The word has done cut, it says, but ignoring. If Jesus is ignoring them, why are you giving them playtime? Don't make sense. He said, your daughter, oh wait a minute, let me get back there. He said to the ruler of the synagogue, watch this, write these two things down. Do not be seized with alarm or be struck with fear. Only keep believing. He told him two things. This is all I got to say to you. Don't be afraid and keep believing. Now, if I shut the service down right now, y'all be like, well, that was crazy. What? Ain't nothing else? What happened to the three guys? What happened to Jairus? And what about his daughter? And what about this? And what about that? Two things Jesus is telling you today. He's telling you to stop being afraid and believe. But once again, we have mingled systems together so that we no longer believe God. We don't believe the Bible because we don't trust the Constitution. Because we have put God on man's level. This is what we do to God. He'll get over it. Oh, you don't think we do? Then why do we keep doing the same thing over and over and over? When Paul said, should we continue to sin because we got grace? He said, God forbid. Now look, you just got saved and you're still drinking. Okay, but you're going to keep drinking 2 years down the line? And every time you got a hair crosswise, you get to go get drunk again? Hello? You know how many times I've wanted to get drunk in the last 28 years? I told y'all I had a rough week. Can we just be honest? See, that flips some of you out, and I don't understand it because some of you didn't just want to, you did. But it's wrong for me. Well, yeah, that's right, Pastor, because 2 Timothy says if you desire the office of a bishop, you're held at a higher account. You're right, I am. But can I tell you, I don't remember signing up for this job. I remember him signing me up. Hook, line, and sinker. And I had to submit myself. And every time I feel like chucking it and throwing in the towel, I got to submit myself again. Every time sin wants to rise up in this flesh, I got to submit myself to God. Every time I want to tell somebody off just like you, I got to submit myself unto God. Over and over, and it's a process. You don't get no easy button. I ain't got no easy button. Somebody lied to you when they told you it was going to be easy. And I want to tell you this, just because you don't drink, smoke, or cuss, don't mean you're okay either. Because then we got to deal with envy and lust and pride. Whew. Yeah, you're looking at me like, when's the good part coming? When Jesus comes. When Jesus comes to get us. What's that song? There'll be a meeting in the air. And it's going to be all right then. Amen? But I'm going to tell you this. How many believe it's hard? How many believe it grows sweeter every day? Sweeter and sweeter. He will show you things that will make you fall head. You think you love her? You don't love her. Get in love with Jesus first. And then God will let you love the one he sent. Quit trying to love something that ain't even belong to you. Jesus, ignoring them, said to Jairus, be not afraid and only believe. I'm telling you today, somebody needs to grab that in your spirit. Be not afraid. We're afraid of change. We're afraid that this is it. This is all we're getting. We're afraid of the unknown. We're afraid of the responsibility. We're afraid of what somebody else will say if I flip things up a little bit. I told you on Wednesday night, when I came out of the Church of God and started pastoring, for the first 2 years, I was in bondage to what they thought or what they say. All I know was the Church of God. That's what I grew up in. That's all I knew. That's what I got my license in. But can I tell you, I no longer care what their opinion is of me. I care what his opinion is of me. I've got to do what he says to do. And if it collides with them, I'm not amending my ways because their ordinance say so. Now, if their ordinance lines up with this, I'll amend it. Amen. Amen? But if it don't line up with this, I'm going to have to keep on preaching anyway. I'm going to have to keep on serving communion anyway. I'm going to have to preaching funerals and weddings and doing what it is that God has called me to do, whether I am a woman in a white body or not. I got to answer to God, not to me. Jairus had to answer to God because his daughter was dead. And he wanted the dead thing in his life raised. And there are people in here, you need some dead areas of your life raised up. And you better listen to God today. Stop being afraid and believe. Watch this. Verse 40. They get to Jairus' house. Now listen. Think about it. His buddies come and told him, Craig, she's dead. Ain't no sense in going. Most people would have fell out and had a funeral right there. True? But somehow, because Jesus first addressed his fear, God knows you're afraid. He knew I was scared to death, Pastor Dan. I've been in the same church for 24 years. What you talking about? Not only leaving a church, but starting a church? Are you crazy? I'm like, I'm going to try this spirit. And I did. And you know how long? 5 years. It was fear. That's all it was. It was fear that held me captive. And religion had a double chokehold on me. Until one day God said, do you want the dead areas alive or not? And I said, yes, I do. He said, then fear not and believe me and let's go. And guess what I did? Well, here I stand. Amen. Watch what Jesus did. When they arrived at the house of the ruler of the synagogue, he looked carefully and with understanding at the tumult and the people weeping and wailing loudly. And when he had gone in the house, he said to them, why do you make an uproar and weep? The little girl is not dead, but she's sleeping. Oh, I would have loved to be there. Oh, my goodness. If you could pick two stories, this would be the one, and the one where he took Peter and them in the room. Remember, the girl was dead too. 12-year-old, and he laid his, they happened right after this, because the woman with the issue of blood grabbed his talit. So now he's unclean. So now he was allowed to go in Jairus' house. Because see, if she hadn't have touched him, he would have been clean. He wouldn't have been allowed to go in Jairus' house because there was a dead body in there. But now that he's unclean, he can go ahead in the house. Not only did he raise one, but he raised two. Because then he goes over in with Peter and them, and he takes Peter, James, and John into a room where there's a dead girl. And he takes his talit off, and he lays it across her, and says, Talithi Kuma, which means, arise, damsel. Then he looks at all of them in the room. This cracks me up. Don't tell anybody. Hey, Jesus, did you see the 100 people that were in the living room having the funeral?